Hey everybody, Captain B-Nard back here with another Wi-Fi battle. Exciting day today because, as promised, I do have another new team for you guys, which we will get into in just a second here. But our first match with that team is going to be against Nadier. So yeah, you can see my new team on the left-hand side there. There are a lot of familiar faces on this one. Those, of course, are going to be the Wigglytuff, which is a Pokemon that I've not used in quite a while. Another one that I've not used in quite a long time is going to be the Electros. And then we have the Berserker, which is, again, a Pokemon I've not used in quite some time. Side note, the Electros is, of course, going to be that special shiny one we got in the last video. Then, of course, we are going to have the Drifblim, which is a Pokemon we have used a little more recently. And then we have the Paldean Tauros, a Pokemon we've never used before. That is the Blaze breed. We have used regular Tauros, obviously not the Paldean one, and then finally we have the Lilligant, which is a Pokemon I've never used before here, so interesting combination. I'm excited to go ahead and use it here, a little bit of a lower tier team. But anyway, looking at the opponent's team, looks to be very powerful. What do we want to lead with here is the question. Not a lot of time to decide. I think we're just going to go for the Wigglytuff straight away, as we don't really have much time to make that choice. And we'll see how that works out. So definitely going to have some uphill battles with this team on paper, with it being a lower tier squad. But I am definitely excited to use it, and hopefully we can make something happen. So there he is, and he's going to go ahead and lead with the Garchomp, kind of as expected, as we do lead with the Wigglytuff. So we could definitely just go straight for a Dazzling Gleam here to try and get as much damage as possible on this thing, but I kind of think going for the Stealth Rock to get the Hazard up is probably going to be more beneficial, as this thing is just going to go for the Stealth Rock of its own. So I'm going to get that Entry Hazard up, as we also get the Entry Hazard up, so just going to trade rocks there right out of the gate. So now the question is, what do we want to do to this thing? Could definitely have coverage for us on deck. Obviously we don't know, but since this thing is a hazard setter, he may not have super effective coverage for us. So I think the best thing we can do here is just stay in and fire off a Dazzling Gleam, as he does stay in. He does have Poison Jab, goes for it. We actually can survive it with 49 HP in the red. Go for the Dazzling Gleam in return. It will knock this thing down to about a quarter, but unfortunately it does survive, as we get some HP back with the leftovers. So obviously we can't take another one of those. The only question is, do we want to try to switch to save this thing? And I think we might want to do that, actually. Potentially, maybe. Do we have really a switch to this thing? We don't have the best of switches to this thing, so we might just maybe, well, I mean, if we anticipate another Poison Jab, we do have the Berserker, but that's not really a good long-term strategy. I think we'll switch to the Drifblim. We'll try to save the Wigglytuff. I think this is the best option we have, so I'm going to go ahead and come in with the Drifblim. And we are going to take that Stealth Rock damage, of course, as they're just going to Poison Jab again. So not going to do too much damage to us. It leaves us at about 50%. And we do get poisoned, so that is really unfortunate. That is extremely unfortunate, because now our Flame Orb can't activate to give us that that Flare Boost special attack increase. So that is super unlucky on our side. I think all we can really do here is just try to Air Slash or Shadow Ball this thing. So we'll just go for the Shadow Ball, I suppose, as this thing is going to switch out, actually, which is interesting. Going to save it for later, and going to switch directly into the Baxcalibur, which is also interesting. So going to take that Stealth Rock damage, as we are going to go for the Shadow Ball here. We'll see how much damage we can get. We are max special attack. That does knock this thing down to about a third HP, as we are then going to take some damage from poison. So this thing could definitely try to set up on us, although it looks like it's going to be close as to whether another Shadow Ball can take this thing out. So I think what we're going to do instead here is play the long game, and we're actually going to go ahead and go for the Trick, see what they want to do, as they are not going to set up. They're just going to go straight for the Icicle Spear, and obviously that's going to take us out. So We're going to lose Drifloon there. That's going to knock us down to 5, but it is not the end of the world, as now we can go ahead and come in with our Paldean Tauros here. Blaze breed, of course, and we do take the Stealth Rock damage, and we do get the Intimidate to cut this thing's attack, which is nice. So I think what we can do, probably the best course of action here, is we can go ahead and we are Choice Scarf, so we know we should outspeed. I'm not 100% sure that the Earthquake will take this thing out from that range. I kind of don't want to risk it, but they definitely could try to switch too, so it's kind of a difficult decision. Let's go ahead and we'll go for the close combat just to be safe, as they do in fact go for the switch. What are they going to come in with? It is going to be the Ceruledge. That is unfortunate. They're going to get the free switch with the Ceruledge. They do take the Stealth Rock damage, which is nice. And then the close combat, obviously not going to hit this thing because it is Ghost. So we definitely have to switch out here since we're choice locked into that. I feel like the best course of action might be to just go ahead and switch back in with the Wigglytuff as fodder, so that's exactly what we're going to do. And we'll see what he wants to do here, so there it is. And we take the Stealth Rock damage, just barely surviving it, as this thing is going to go for Shadow Sneak, so actually not going to hit the Wigglytuff since we're a normal type, so we actually do get a free switch in there, which is nice. And then regain some HP with the leftovers. Not really going to matter, I don't think, though, since I believe this thing does outspeed us. But we don't really have much of anything to hit this thing with anyway, so we're just going to go for a Dazzling Gleam here, as this thing does outspeed us. Go for the Bitter Blade, and that will definitely take our Wigglytuff out and give this thing some HP back in the process, which is not great. But yeah, that's going to finish the Wigglytuff and knock us down to 4, as this thing does take some Life Orb chip damage. So I think now, knowing more about this thing, I think we can actually go ahead and come back in with the Paldean Tauros. So that's what we're going to do. We do take more Stealth Rock damage, but I think we do get the Intimidate to cut this thing's attack, which is nice. But I think now we can pretty safely just go for the Earthquake, so that's exactly what we're going to do. And if this thing does stay in, it should go down here. If it switches, should get some good damage on something else. So we'll see what he wants to do here. So he is going to stay in. We do go for the Earthquake, and that is just going to go ahead and take that Ceruledge out as expected, which is great. That's going to go ahead and knock him down to 5. So that is definitely good news for us. Definitely a potential problem out of the way, as now he's going to go ahead and come in with the Dondozo, which is obviously bad news. Going to take the Stealth Rock damage. And so I think in this situation, the best thing we can do is just switch directly to our Lilligant. So that is exactly what we're going to do. Definitely want to preserve the Tauros for later. So going to go ahead and come in with the Lilligant, as we do take the Stealth Rock damage, and this thing is just going to go straight for a Wave Crash. So that is going to do some chip to us, not a ton, as he does take some recoil damage, which is nice, and then we are going to get some HP back with the leftovers, which is good news. So these things are usually unaware, so we probably can't set up to really sweep or anything, but at the same time I don't know what this thing can really do to us. So I think we actually are just going to go ahead and set up a Quiver Dance and see what this thing wants to do. He does stay in, so we go for the Quiver Dance. We're going to get that +1 special attack, special defense, and speed, which is nice, as this thing is going to go for an Avalanche in return, and that is going to knock us all the way down to 16 HP in the red, but we do survive, and then we do regain some HP with the leftovers. So at this point, obviously the best thing we can do is just go straight for the Energy Ball, so that's what we're going to do. He does stay in, Energy Ball incoming, and it actually is going to be enough to go ahead and finish that Dondozo off and knock him down to 4, so that is great news for us. Lilligant coming in clutch for us, as we do get some HP back with the leftovers. So now the Lilligant's in a pretty decent position, which is pretty good. So We'll see what he wants to bring in response. And it is going to be the Garchomp. So just going to go ahead and come in with that thing. Going to take some Stealth Rock damage. And from that range, I don't think this thing can take a +1 Energy Ball. So we're just going to go ahead and we could go for it. Actually, I don't think this thing can really take any attack from us. But I think what we're going to do, just in case this thing decides to Terra, we could switch up moves in case this thing decides to go like Terra Dragon like they usually do. So we're actually going to go for the Pollen Puff instead, just in case. As no Terra, we go for the Pollen Puff. We do get a crit there. I don't believe that mattered at all since we are max special attack, but that is going to finish the Garchomp off and knock him down to 3. So that is great news for us as we get some more HP back with the leftovers. So Lilligant in its debut here, putting in the work, which is awesome. So now he's going to go ahead and come in with the King Gambit. So going to take some Stealth Rock damage, and so going to get the Supreme Overlord to increase the attack stat. And so there's really not much of a point in switching Lilligant out in the shape that it's in, I don't think. So this thing will probably Sucker Punch to take us out, but there's not much we can do about that. So I think our best bet's just to go for the Pollen Puff here, as they don't Sucker Punch, which is interesting. We hit it with a +1 Pollen Puff. Going to take this thing down by about half, but it does survive. Go for the Kowtow Cleave, and that obviously will finish the Lilligant from that range and knock us down to 3. But that's okay, because the Lilligant more than did its work in that one. So we have a number of options to deal with this thing potentially, but I think the Paldean Tauros is going to be the preferred answer to this situation. So we're going to go ahead and come in with that, take more Stealth Rock damage, and we do Intimidate this thing to cut its attack, which is nice. And so I think, based on what Pokemon they have left, I think we are pretty safe to just go for the Flare Blitz. I think that's the best one to go for in this situation. So that's what we're going to do. Is this thing is going to go ahead and Terrastalize on us. So going to go ahead and bust that out, and it is going to turn into a Ghost type. So great thing we did not go for the fighting move here. So this thing Terrastalizes into Ghost, which would have been nice. They go for the Sucker Punch. Going to do some chip to us, taking us below half, but we do go for the Flare Blitz in return, and it's actually not quite enough to take this thing out, unfortunately. So that kind of sucks. We do take the recoil damage. We are hanging on with 35 HP, so I think we can take another Sucker Punch from that range, so we're just going to go ahead and go for the Flare Blitz again here. They actually don't go for the Sucker Punch this time, knowing that it's not enough to take us out, and the Flare Blitz will take the King Gambit out and knock them down to 2, so that is definitely a great turn of events for us. Their Terra is gone, which is incredible, as we do take some more recoil damage there. So, yeah, Tauros is coming in for us as well, which is nice, as now they are going to go ahead and come in with the Iron Valiant. So this thing is going to take the Stealth Rock damage, and it very well could be Choice in some way. They might not know that we're Choice Scarf yet, so I think the only thing we can do here is just go for the Flare Blitz. If they're Choice Scarf, they will outspeed. If they're not, I think we will. So we're going to go for the Flare Blitz, and they are not Choice Scarf, so we do outspeed. We go for the Flare Blitz. It's not quite enough to get rid of this thing, unfortunately. It survives in the red. We go down to the recoil damage, which is unfortunate. That will take us down to, I believe, 2, as they go for a Psyshock, and it's not going to hit anything. So at this point, we are going to go ahead and come in with the Berserker. So going to come back in with that thing, and we do take the Stealth Rock damage. So I think the best thing we can do here, obviously we are packing Fake Out, so we're just going to go ahead and go for it straight away. Hopefully it's enough to take this thing out, as they're not going to stay in on that matchup, perhaps anticipating the Fake Out. They are just going to switch to the Baxcalibur. So that thing's coming in, going to take the Stealth Rock damage, and we do get the Fake Out, which actually does finish the Baxcalibur off from that range, and knock them down to just one Pokemon, which is great for us. So they are going to come back in then with the Iron Valiant, and they can just barely survive the Stealth Rock damage here. Now, we have an interesting situation on our hands here, because if they go for a physical attack, we are packing Rocky Helmet, so that would take them out. However, we're not in the business of making unnecessary gambles here, so I think we're just gonna switch directly into the Electros here, so that we can reset the Fake Out to guarantee that we can get rid of this thing next time the Berserker comes in. So there is our Electros there. We do take the Stealth Rock damage, as this thing is going to go for an Aura Sphere. It looks like a purely special set, as that knocks us all the way down to about a quarter HP. And then we do survive and get some HP back from the leftovers. Unfortunately, we're definitely not going to take another one of those, so just going to click Wild Charge here, but it's not going to matter because they definitely outspeed us. Go for the Aura Sphere, and that takes out the Electros, knocking us down to just one Pokemon. But luckily, our last Pokemon is, of course, going to be the Berserker that we have waiting in the wings. So we come back in with that, take a little more Stealth Rock damage, and all we have to do here is go for the Fake Out, and it should definitely be enough. And indeed it is enough from that range to go ahead and finish off the Iron Valiant. And that is game. So we are going to win that one 1-0 against Nadier, but that was actually a great match. Very close, very competitive, fast-paced, high-octane game there, and just an all-around solid one. Definitely an uphill battle for us on paper, but pretty happy that we were able to pull through in that one. So, that's it. Thanks for watching again, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, and or subscribe if you did enjoy, and stay tuned for more new battles in the future. So, that's it, and we'll see you next time.